My name is Kari Honkanen. I come from Finland, from the Finnish Transport Agency. And since it's already pretty late in the afternoon, I thought I'd keep it fairly sort of simple and easy to understand. I'm sure you're all looking forward to drinks already or something like that. So here's the agenda that I was going to go through. I'll do a couple of introductions first. Then I'll discuss briefly why we chose Alfresco for our document and ECM management tool. A few words about agile development that we've used in the project. Then I'll describe the repositories that we've created for Alfresco in our organization. And then I'm going to share some experiences that we've had so far with the use of with Alfresco. Something about me. So my title is Senior Officer. I'm a project manager at the Finnish Transport Agency. I've been there almost 3 years now. My background is in translation, localization, and technical documentation. So this is not going to be a very technical presentation. My role is also a product owner in the agile development work. And I'm also the person who trains our people, and I'm pretty much the only Alfresco person in FTA. We have a provider then who actually does the development work, but I'm between the developers and the business, sort of buffering either way, or trying to communicate between the business needs and the developers. Okay, something about Finnish Transport Agency. So FTA was formed in 2010 when 3 previous administrations were merged together. So Road, Rail and Maritime Administrations were merged into Finnish Transport Agency. And if you have any experience with government organizations, you might see that this has caused some problems. All of a sudden, we had 3 document management systems, 3 IT environments, 3 working cultures from all the administrations. So everybody came into the new agency with a lot of baggage from the older organizations. So it's been very difficult ever since, really. It's gradually getting better after 3 years, but still a lot of both technical challenges and challenges that have to do with work culture. People sort of don't understand why others do things the way they do. What we do is that we build and maintain roads, railroads and waterways. We have both sea and inland waters. And we spend about 20 billion euros on these things yearly. So fairly substantial budget. And there you can see something taken from our website. That's just, maybe for you to read a bit later. But that's the sort of our mission statement, I suppose. Then the environment in which we work, and I thought I'd describe the environment in terms of users. So there are a little over 650 of us in several locations around Finland. Then we have hundreds and hundreds of external users, consultants, the providers, because all we do is buy or procure. We order work from other companies. So you can imagine that 20 billion gets some work. So we have a lot of external people and other authorities that we need to collaborate with. One of the specific features of our projects is that our projects can last for decades. From the very initial planning of let's say, a railroad somewhere, of a big road, to the maintenance phase, it might take decades. And all the material needs to be available at all times. And And as a government organization, we are very document and paper heavy organization. There's lots of paper still around. And so we have legal requirements for various types of things. So we're a government agency, we use taxpayers' money, we need to be open. So all the material is basically public. We have some requirements regarding archiving as well. We talk about long-term and permanent. In the morning, it was mentioned that some people need to hold on to some material for about 100 years. Here the permanent means actually forever, till the world ends. It's not like 150 years or 200. It's forever. I don't know how what the format will be, or what the disk will look like. We now know that the only media that survives over 100 years is microfilm. We don't well, paper. But I don't trust the tapes and things like that. So that's one of the. We have some drawings from a bridge from 14th of 1600s. Still, we need to keep those forever. So that's Finnish Transport Agency in a nutshell. Okay, in 2010, when the merge took place, we found ourselves in a very fragmented environment in terms of document management and enterprise content management. And we had or we still have a P drive. It's a disk drive, that has been the sort of document management system so far. We had all the previous systems from the previous administrations or agencies, but we couldn't use any of them as the one and only system for the new FTA. Mainly for two reasons. Some of the systems were becoming obsolete, and they were developed in the 90s and not up to date really anymore. And also some procurement issues, because we are a government agency. We have to invite tenders for pretty much everything. You can't, if it's over 10,000 euros, it needs to be an open process, and you need to have the tenders in, and you have the procurement process. And we would have had to procure even if we wanted to use one of the existing systems. So it was sort of decided that we need something new, one system, and maybe something that is new to all the previous organizations. In regard to sort of working culture, it would have been a difficult choice if we chose, let's say, the rail people system. The maritime people and the road people would have disliked that situation. So we assessed our needs, and one of the most important requirements was the collaboration capability with externals. We have hundreds and hundreds of them. They come and go. There's quite a bit of turnover in the sort of consultancy world, developer world. So it needs to be flexible in user rights and administering the users. So we assessed the available solutions. Alfresco was one. The other main system was SharePoint. And we already had some experiences with SharePoint. One of the earlier systems was an earlier version of SharePoint. So we decided to go with Alfresco. And in Finland, in the public sector, it's been now encouraged to go towards open source software. We don't want to get married with Microsoft or any other big vendor. So we like the sort of community idea that things are being developed sort of independently. And we had already decided that our intranet will be running on Liferay. So Liferay and Alfresco seem to be getting along pretty nicely in terms of technical issues. So that was one of the factors that was in favor of Alfresco. And we also needed a document management platform for our new case management system that is being developed as we speak on top of Alfresco. It's a separate system, but it uses the Alfresco as a document repository. So we have a case management system, and when you attach documents to the case, they are always stored in Alfresco. So that was one of the requirements. Now, at the moment, we have the enterprise version installed on our premises. So we don't use the cloud version at all. We decided to use agile development in this project. We were one of the first, I think, in FTA to test this method. And so we procured an agile development team. And I was there as the product owner between the developers and the business side. Scrum Master and the team was provided by Proactum. That's our partner in this project. We had sprints which lasted 2 weeks at a time, and it was pretty much out of the box installation. We are now running 4.1, I believe, and we are planning to update to 4.2 shortly. But we did some minor UI adjustments, tailoring to get the sort of FTA look and feel in terms of colors and things like that. Because what we plan to do is to sort of have sort of electronic work desk for every FTA personnel later. So I'd like to sort of create a system where a person doesn't realize that he's going into a document management system. You can lift parts of the Alfresco to Liferay portal, for example. You can lift your favorite documents or the sites, your favorite sites and things like that. So eventually you don't need to know where you are. You can just use documents, it's stored automatically and so on. I like the experience of agile development. It suits me as a person. And one of the most important things I think was that with the short sprints, when you make mistakes, they never get to be very big mistakes. You can always reverse, correct, and continue. Whereas in the traditional models, you might have been working for several months, then you test, and then you find something annoying, and it's always going to be more expensive to fix that than fixed in 2-week sprints. Then again, the agile process wasn't maybe best suited for this, because this was pretty much an installation and minor tailoring. When we are now working on the case management system, so that's been a better experience for the agile, I think, because it's pretty much started from the scratch. With Alfresco, there's a product that we installed with minor tailoring. In our Alfresco, we sort of have 3 repositories for documents. So every user has their own dashboard on which they have the My Files, or My Files, and where they can create folders and use it like Windows Explorer type thing. You can create folders, subfolders, bring documents, work on the documents, and then publish them to somewhere else. Then we have the sites, hundreds of them at the moment already, very actively used. And there also in the document library you have the possibility of creating folders, subfolders. Very, very traditional way of sort of visualizing hierarchies and sort of way of work. Because people, we took some steps back during the merge of 2010 because we lost sort of all the existing document management systems, and we returned to a file system. So we had a disk. So people got used to using folders again. And we now offer folders in 2 out of 3 places because they like it so much that they still have the possibility of using folders. We have sites for collaborating with externals, with some other authorities, and also within FTA, because we are on several locations also in Finland. So we need to share material. Then the third repository is something that we call FTA repository. It's slightly more sort of abstract. It's a storage. When you save documents into the storage, you give the documents metadata, and those are the search words that you then should be using when you want to find something. So there's no visible folder structure for people to see. So when you save, you need to sort of know what you are saving, and you don't need to know where you are saving, which is the case with the folder structure. You sort of remember it's there. But now you need to know the document type, name of the file, or some other metadata which you use then to search. Very briefly about the search, we have also acquired the Google Search appliance for FTA, which we are planning to integrate with Alfresco, because we find the Alfresco search as it is at the moment for us a bit slow and not so good. So we are trying to sort of integrate all the silos we have to the Google Search appliance and sort of create a search layer. And then the user doesn't have to know where material exists. That has always, I think, been a problem. That if you have to know where it is, and then you have to go there and open that application and search from that application. So the FTA repository is for FTA personnel only. So there's a strong requirement from our people that we need to have a place which is guaranteed to be just for FTA users. We have so many consultants and other companies working for us, so it's and there's some material that we don't want them to see, at least very easily. We have nothing sort of secret, but still there's some certain phases in some procurement process, for example, where documents are not in the public domain yet. They are on their way being public, but not at the beginning. Like I mentioned, no visible folder structure, and you use metadata and searches to find and save your material. I mentioned the previous systems, so we did migrations from the previous systems to Alfresco. So all the material, all the relevant material has been migrated to Alfresco. So we had a FileNet system, we had a SharePoint system, we had a Hummingbird system, and we encountered really no technical problems during the migrations. I think most of the time was used on figuring out what to migrate and how to map the metadata to the aspect world of Alfresco. So that was the most time-consuming, I think. Technically, no problems. Really quick process. And we imported about 250,000 documents and their metadata to Alfresco. Then the users. We've been using Alfresco for about a year now. It's not sort of officially in use yet, but a lot of people use it. And we've already gathered some experiences from the use. So my experience is now that the system as such is rarely the problem. It's the people. We have a very diverse group of users in terms of age and computer skills. So we have people who are actually afraid of computers. They're afraid to open it. They need to check their password every time they're forced to open the thing. And then we have the younger generation that has no problems whatsoever. They're comfortable with Wikis and Bloggies and Facebook, and they're also sort of used to a more open way of working. So they don't feel the need to sort of hold the documents or in private as long as they can, and then sort of release the sort of finished version. But they push data or documents into sites, and people start commenting and working together, as I think they should. But it's a cultural thing, really. A lot of the older administrations, there are people who are almost retiring and saying that I don't need to learn this. I'm retiring in 5 or 10 years. You can see the problem when we're trying to sort of take this thing into use. And I've been training people during the last spring and now in the fall, and I've had about 130 or 40 individual training sessions. And I sort of divided them into A, B, and C groups to sort of A person, people had to recognize to which group they belonged. So if you're A person, you're sort of very fluent with computers, you don't need any help usually, you just need the link and you go and figure it out yourself. Then there's the sort of average user who's really, well, they're okay with computers, but they're not as such interested in systems. They just want to get their work done, and it's fairly okay. And then the C group is the sort of who need a lot of care and attention, and the sort of who are afraid of computers, afraid of systems, usually think that if something goes wrong, it's their fault. And so it's a lot of sort of self-esteem enhancement, really, in the training for the C group. So that's because I didn't want to have them all in the same groups, because it's always difficult if you have the very advanced and the very not advanced people in the same group. It's difficult as a teaching situation. And this is a question that often crops up in the trainings, that will the system still let me do stupid things? The system will not remove the problem if you don't know what you're supposed to do at work. Do you get my point? If you don't know what you're doing here, no system is going to get that. Because we still haven't sort of been, well, there's the camera. I'm sure it could sort of read your body language and say that you're not doing the correct things right now. Why we're not there yet. But that's there's a user expectations. I think a lot of people expect that now when we get a new system, it solves my skill issues, but it doesn't really. And that's one of the sort of themes that crops up in the trainings. Then the good things. So Alfresco has greatly improved our collaboration with external users. It used to be very difficult for externals to get into our systems. So they usually got into this loop of signing in from which they couldn't get out and they couldn't get in to the system. So then they would just sort of demoralized and use Gmail or something like that, which you really shouldn't use for work, I think. Also, we previously had dozens and dozens of individual project portals that were always provided by some contractor that we buy stuff from. So I know people who have like usernames for 40 or 50 portals. So that's a whole, that's a full-time job to keep track of your passwords and usernames. And one of the problems with the external project portals is at the end of the project life cycle, because we own the material and we should have the material. but it's never sort of managed properly at the end. It always sort of, somebody might print something out, or somebody might copy something to a CD-ROM and deliver it to us, but it's not sort of, it's not transferred to us in a way that it should be. So now with Alfresco, we always have the material at our disposal. We just let others there, and it's sort of our thing. We can't use it for everything. We have some very massive projects for which we use other portals. I don't know if you know Builder.com or Sokopro or sort of Finnish major portals, which I use for big procurement projects, for example. Access to Alfresco is very easy with all devices. So we have iPads, phones. You can use your home computer. You can use hotel lobby computers, whatever. You can easily access Alfresco from anywhere if you have a proper internet connection and some sort of browser on your device. So iPads and things like that are nice for consuming information. I think nobody really wants to work on documents on a phone, really, but it's, at least you can consume and you can open documents. We use wikis and datalists and discussions quite actively now. So I've been trying to encourage people to move material from mails to sort of wikis or discussion forums and things like that, so that they don't get buried in inboxes. And if people leaves the organization, there's no way we can sort of go and check his or her email or the private folders. So I try to encourage people to sort of be more open with the material that they produce. And one thing that is better already, but not as good as it should be, is that we don't need to send that many email attachments anymore. So we can just send a link or guide people other ways to the sites. So I don't like getting email attachments that much. I'm sort of requiring people to send me links nowadays. Okay, then obviously have some problems. I've yet to meet a sort of system that's free of problems. I think most of these are self-inflicted by our organization. It's not really about Alfresco as such, but we have some browser issues at the moment. Our default browser is Internet Explorer 8, which has been actually set up to run as 7. And it's a default browser, and because of the merge situation, there are a lot of systems from the previous organization that have been set up to run on Internet Explorer 8. And we can't roll out a newer version because that would stop their sort of operative systems. And operative systems are the ones that keep trains from not crashing to each other, for example. So we just can't introduce a new browser without proper testing. So it's been really difficult. We have had some problems with online editing for externals. It works differently than for FTA personnel within the FTA network. I think we discussed this briefly when you were over. It's about our environment somehow. We haven't been able to locate what the problem is, because a year ago it worked fine for the externals, but it didn't work for the FTA person. Then we got a fix so that the FTA works fine, but the same day it dropped from the externals. I have no idea. Our sort of environment is complex, because it's I think sort of been fixed and fixed and fixed. It's never properly been sort of evaluated and assessed. And main problem seems to be network problems. And it seems that the SharePoint Protocol, for example, is a bit picky about the internet connection that it needs, or the data connection that it needs. Because when people log in, we have a username and a password, and the username carries with it a lot of information about a lot of things. So if the SharePoint protocol doesn't respond quickly enough, it just won't check out, for example, a document. So it seems. When you have a sort of a shaky connection, a lot of the things sort of don't work. And unfortunately, the user experience is then that the Alfresco is not working. I've been obviously trying to explain to people that Alfresco is just fine. You just can't get to it. And the reason that you can't get to it is the lousy internet connection. But it's not users' concern. I'm just doing this for me to feel better about Alfresco. But it's like if you buy a new phone and you know it's just fine, it can't be broken, but the carrier is down. Your user experience is that you can't make a phone call. So usually, I'm sure you'll blame the phone first. But that's one of the, it's been really difficult to sort of, if a person's first experience is a disappointment, it's really difficult to sort of get back from that and win them over again. Because now they just say that it's so easy to use the P drive because it always works. And that's a very short-sighted view, I think, to use the disk drives. That was pretty much what I wanted to say, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you have. Yes?
Why did you choose Alfresco over SharePoint, apart from the open source?
We had some experience with SharePoint, and one of the things was the LifeRay intranet environment, because it was our understanding that LifeRay and Alfresco work very nicely together, and our aim at that point was to sort of create this sort of dashboard for all FTA users, combining features from LifeRay and Alfresco. That was one of the. We had a company doing the assessment for us, and there were a lot of other things which I can't remember anymore. But yeah, that was their recommendation. We had sort of decided, I think, in our heads that for Alfresco, but we needed to go through the sort of proper assessment process. Yeah.
How does your external suppliers feel about using Alfresco now? Is they providing anything?
Because we pay them, and as I'm not really concerned about their feelings, because they do what we ask them to do. It's in the procurement process that we offer this platform, and this is the one we'll be using.
And do you provide any support?
Yes, I will. I think I'm the only one who can actually at the moment in-house provide. But the providers are usually pretty nifty with all these things. They've used them before. They have used Alfresco usually somewhere before. And what they need to do there is just upload documents, update, and that's pretty much what they need to do. And any consultant will learn that in 10 minutes.
So how do they access the Alfresco environment? Is it through VPN or?
No, it's a HTTPS connection, and they just log in. They have our username, our user. They have this account. They have to have an account. It's a personal account, and then they log in.
So you create them, they are authenticated against the same system than your staff. So you create them locally.
I think they authenticate to the yeah. That's not really my forte, the user access. We've had some problems with that, but that's not really my sort of strong. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, it's just sort of abstract repository. I think it's basically a huge site within Alfresco. Obviously, it has folder structure, and the folders are formed based on days and time of day and time, and so that one individual folder doesn't become too crowded. So it's faster that way. But no one sees it, except some admin people. But that was the need, because a couple of the older systems were like that. So you had metadata per document, then you save it, and then you search for it. So 2/3 of the people already knew how to use metadata. But now they had sort of also regressed. So we have to relearn the metadata sort of thinking.
Question about the metadata model. So how complex metadata model do you have? So what kind of information besides this normal file information?
We have created some customized aspect sets. They're not very complicated at the moment. We have for some document types, for like agreements, some other things that we have, or contracts and things like that. But the case management system that is being built on top will then provide almost all of the metadata needed. Because in the case management system, every process that we have is described, every document that belongs to a certain process is described, and the metadata is defined. So then it's sort of, once you choose a certain type of case, you get certain type of documents, and all the metadata has been defined. So it comes automatically, and they are built in as Alfresco aspect sets. And in an ideal case, a user needs to give a name to a document and nothing else. But he has to sort of know what sort of case he needs to create. And it's fairly elaborate metadata structure. It's my colleague who's been working on that.
Do you extract metadata from documents?
I really Alfresco can pick up something from documents automatically, I think. We are using these Word templates. There's a separate provider for that at Chameleon. I don't know if you know. In Finland it's being used. And we can integrate that with Alfresco so that if you create a template and give metadata through the Word template, it will be transferred to Alfresco as well, and vice versa.
Oh, but I mean a little bit more about suppliers documents. So,
As if
drawings from one of your
so if they import a document into the system, well, they have the same interface where they need to give the metadata anyway. So
it's their problem.
yeah, well, we give the option. Or actually, we force a few.
They
Yeah,
have to do
yeah,
it.
they have to do. Yeah.
Do you use some kind of upload wizard for uploading documents? It's possible to fill in those metadata values?
If you want, you can obviously upload documents one by one. For the My Files, you are not forced to fill in any metadata. We wanted to make one easy way of importing documents to the system. So for the sites and for the FTA repository, we force 4 metadata at the moment. But if you are sort of uploading, let's say, 100 documents at a time, you can give the same set of metadata to all of them, and then change them later as they are being worked on in the system.
Have something customized?
Yeah, we have our own sort of import screen. Yeah.
So, you pretty much the same as
Okay.
just want to understand, normally with public entities, there's a lot of paperwork and there's a requirement for imaging and scanning
Yeah.
I didn't hear you mention that. And it got me thinking, are you looking to implement records management on that?
The records management functionality will be implemented through the case management system. We're not going to be using the Alfresco records management at this time, or that's the plan at least at the moment. We will be scanning quite a bit of material into the system, but it's because those are usually things that need to be registered anyway. So they go through the case management system. But the scanned documents will then be stored, of course, in Alfresco.
What will you use for scanning?
We don't know yet. It's being specified at the moment. So our volumes are not that big, really. We're not sort of an agency that gets a lot of mail. So our processes are sort of different. Yeah, but it's being integrated into the case management system.
Sorry, you said there was limitations with the search, with the Alfresco search.
Yeah, Alfresco search that we use it's a bit slow. Because nowadays, if you don't get in some sort of result in less than a second, you start. The modern man can't stand that anymore. So there's something wrong with the sort of indexing or something like that. But we are hoping that the Google Search Appliance will help us out in that respect. Yep.
I find that people that are moving from Hamilton to Alfresco have the same frustration.
Okay.
Largely because we have search forms.
Okay.
And
You had built in sort of, yeah.
search form, and so we carry that expectation to the content search environment of Alfresco. And there it becomes a frustration.
Yeah, yeah. Because nowadays people use Google all the time, and the Google response is very quick, and you get at least something from which you can go on. But the Alfresco at the moment just doesn't provide any. There's no link to click very quickly, at least at the moment. I'm sure there's things that can be done for the Alfresco search as well, but I think we've sort of decided in the whole organization to start utilizing the Google Search Appliance in our searches. Anything else? Then I say thank you. Okay.